Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video I'm going to take a look at a slightly older motherboard, but actually one which you could probably keep a good eye out for used bargains on places like eBay and other second-hand or used places, and possibly even stock clearouts, being that now AMD has the new 800 series chipsets out. The 600 series, although still very good and actually not that different in terms of the reality of what you actually have in terms of throughput, PCI Express Gen 5, etc. This, I feel, is actually one that is well worth looking for, especially if you're like me, where you need to have a little bit more USB connectivity and potentially need to use capture devices. Now, long story short, this board is actually going to be replacing the B650 Edge Wi-Fi, which is in my streaming PC, for one good reason, and that is the fact that we have an additional PCI Express slot on the bottom, which actually is a 4x4. So I can put in my capture card there, space out from the graphics card and not have to worry about my GPU overheating or pulling in heat from the capture card. Anyway, that's my reason behind it. Let's take a look at the motherboard and we'll go through all the specs, all the features, and then you can work out whether or not this is going to be suitable for your next build. So we'll start off with the packaging. As you can see, it's the pretty standard MSI packaging. This is the X670E. So this is the extreme version of the chipset. And you can see there it supports the Ryzen socket AM5 processors. PCI Express Gen 5 ready, that is for both the graphics and also the primary NVMe slot. DDR5 support obviously, and also overclocking support. On the back of the box it goes over some of the key features, such as the robust power design, which incorporates a 14+2+1 VRM with 80 amp stages. You've also got 2.5 gigabit LAN from Realtek, that's the RTL8125G. Also, you've got Lightning Gen 5 support for PCI Express Gen 5, as we've already said. And also, you've got an absolute ton of M.2 Shield Frozzers. As we've already said, we've got DDR5 support up to 7800 mega transfers, possibly even more by the time this video goes out. Also supports Lightning 20G for the USB, so USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, up to 20 gigabits per second. Also included, got Wi-Fi 6E and also Bluetooth 5.3. And also, for those looking at overclocking, it also supports memory boost. Also on the back of the box, there's a layout of the rear I/O. Now in terms of an unboxing, this was a used bargain on eBay, so yeah, not all the bits are here, or at least possibly not anyway. So we've got the Wi-Fi antenna for the Wi-Fi 6E with the SMA connectors on the end there. You also get a sticker sheet, should you wish to adorn your PC with various types of MSI library. Also included there were the M.2 lockers, but they have been pre-installed onto the board itself, so that is a nice easy way of installing and removing M.2 storage. Other than that, there were a couple of user manuals, or well, basically a pamphlet saying where to get the user manual, which you can scan with a QR code. I really do miss having a proper owner's manual for my motherboard. Do you agree with this or not? Let me know in the comments. And anyway, with all that out of the way, let's take a look at the motherboard itself. And as you can see, this one is one of those motherboards where possibly it's not going to suit into everyone's personal aesthetic. For me, the kind of the chrome or silver highlights on here are actually very, very bright indeed. Now, if you're doing a build into a white case with a lot of other white components, this actually fits in quite nicely. The silver does kind of match in with the white somewhat. Or if you're doing a black type build, potentially if you want to, you could remove these and give them a splash of paint. That is entirely up to you. But I think it actually doesn't look too bad at all. Although these turquoise highlights are a little bit off-putting, but certainly it doesn't detract too much, I don't think. So let's go through and do a quick tour of the board and see what's going on. So starting off obviously with the heatsink, it's got a massive heatsink over the primary VRM and also a smaller one over the secondary. That again is keeping cool the 14+2+1 power stages, which are with 80 amp chokes, so that's a pretty decent power. One of the things which is a little bit limiting on this board is the fact that it's only a 6-layer PCB, which isn't the greatest, but certainly they have to reduce the cost somewhere. The Gaming Plus range generally is seen as one of the kind of more entry-level models on the market. And yeah, other than that, it is basically the same spec as the Tomahawk, but it just has a slightly thinner motherboard, the Tomahawk being an 8-layer PCB. Now, in order to get all the power into the board, in the top left-hand corner, we've got 2 EPS connectors, or supplementary CPU power. So you've got dual 8 pins there. You can use just one if you want to. Most processors won't need the 2 anyway, and even some of the higher-end ones, just plugging one in is going to be absolutely fine. But it's nice to have the option of both there. Moving across from the heatsinks, we've got some connectivity for our fans. So you've got your CPU header, which is down the bottom here. You've also got a pump header, also a system fan header. So lots of connectivity there for your fans, all of which can be controlled either PWM or DC control, both in the motherboard and also in MSI Center if you wanted to, or you could even install things like fan control, that type of thing. That'll work absolutely fine. Moving across there, we've got an RGB connector, so that is your old 12 volt style. And moving across to the side there, the color-coded one in white is a 5-volt, 3-pin addressable RGB, the first of your headers there. There's another one at the bottom. Moving down from that, we've got the thing which we do like to see on boards, that is some form of diagnostic LED. So this has got the MSI D LED, so that tells you if it's your CPU, your memory, your graphics card, or your boot device which is causing a problem while you're not getting a display on the screen. It will cycle through those anyway when you turn the PC on, just like as a self-test, and eventually when the system's on, those should all be turned off. Moving down underneath that, we've got another 2 chassis fan headers. You can use those for fans or pumps or whatever. And actually 2 of the headers, the CPU and the pump one, are rated at 3 amps, and the rest of them are all rated at 2 amps. Underneath that, 24-pin main power connector. And moving across, we've got our 4 RAM slots, so up to 64 gigs in each slot. So that's giving you a massive total of 256 gigs of RAM, should you have deep enough pockets to fill those. As is always the case with AMD, your mileage may vary if you get 4 slots to work with certain types of RAM. So I've actually tried recently with 4 sticks of 6000, and it actually seems to work pretty easily these days, with BIOS updates being what they are and giving better features, etc., and more reliability. So in the old days, basically trying to get 4 sticks to run at 6000 megatransfers was nigh on impossible, but now it seems to be more of a reality. Moving across from the RAM slots, obviously you've got your AM5 socket there, so that's going to support basically every AM5 socket processor from the very beginning right the way to the latest and greatest. So basically your choice of processor is going to be absolutely fine. The only thing you will need to do if you get a newer processor than the board is to do a quick BIOS flashback. But don't worry, we've done a video on that and I'll link that in the video description just in case you want to check it out. So moving back across, underneath the 24-pin power connector, we've got a USB Type-C front panel connector, that one giving up to 10 gigabits per second. And moving down, we've got some SATA ports, so 4 SATA ports, and also a USB 3 front panel connector. That's for your Type A ports. Before we take a look at the bottom section for the I/O, we'll take a look at the PCI Express and also the M.2s. So because this is the X670E chipset, we've got a little bit more bandwidth available to us, so we've got more drives on here, so you can install up to 4 M.2 drives. The top one, primary slot, PCI Express Gen 5x4. The 2 underneath here, one of which, the top one, is also connected to the CPU, so that's PCI Express Gen 4x4. The one underneath that is from the chipset, PCI Express Gen 4x4, and the bottom one is also PCI Express Gen 4x4. All of the drives have the nice easy release latch, that's pretty handy. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is maybe quick release top covers. A couple of screws are a little bit of a pain in the backside at times, but certainly for the price these boards generally go for, entry-level pricing, I think most of us can overlook that. Now let's take a look at the PCI Express, and this is the bit which actually does please me greatly. So top slot, PCI Express Gen 5x16, so going to be absolutely fine with the latest and greatest graphics cards. Underneath that, we've got PCI Express Gen 3x1, that is coming from the chipset. And underneath that, we've got another PCI Express Gen 3x16 size slot, but it's only wired for ×1. And at the very bottom, the one which I'm really looking forward to using, that is going to be PCI Express Gen 4x4, again, running from the chipset. So now let's take a look at the connectivity along this bottom section. So over in the far right-hand corner, you've got your front panel connectivity, so power switch, reset switch, all that kind of stuff. The CMOS reset. Above that, we've got the second of the 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB. And just above there, also JFP2, which is another speaker connection type thing. Underneath that, we've also got another USB front panel connector. So that is going to be for USB 3.0 for your Type A's. So you've got 2 of those in total, which is nice to see. Moving across from that, you've got 2 USB 2.0 front panel connections, so giving you up to 4 ports in total. And then next to that, we've got another chassis fan header, 2 of those. Moving across, we've got the JT1, and also above that, we've got also chassis intrusion switches. Next to that, you've got the JTBT, which is the Thunderbolt port, so you can add in a Thunderbolt card if you wanted to, and that is the connection for it there. Moving across, you've got some dash connections, which is a very odd MSI thing for monitoring systems, but very rarely do you see that on the market. Also, you've got another 12-volt RGB connection, and finally along the end there, you've got the front panel connections for the onboard audio, which is the Realtek RTL897, which isn't great, but certainly gets the job done. Last of all, in terms of connectivity, just next to the M.2 slot at the top here, we've got another chassis connection there for fans, so that's a nice easy place to put it. So if you've got a rear mounted fan, nice easy way to route it through. So loads of fan headers on here, loads of RGB connectors, and best of all, lots of M.2 storage and lots of PCI Express, which is a benefit of having the slightly upgraded chipset. Next, we can take a look at the I/O on the rear of the board. So you've got your BIOS flashback button. Next to that, HDMI port and display port. So if you're using processors with integrated graphics, you can make use of that. Then you've got two USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports, so 10 gigabit per second. Just two of those there, color coded in red. Next to that, in blue, you've got the USB 3.0. Those are going to be 5 gigabit per second, and the top one is for your BIOS flashback. Next to that, you've got four USB 2.0s, Type A's. Then you've got a Type-C connection, just a little one there on its own, very lonely, but that is 20 gigabit per second, so that's the fastest one on the board. Then above that, you've got another one of the 10 gigabit per second Type A ports in red, and above that, you've got your RTL 8125G 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. Next up, we've got the two SMA connectors for the onboard Wi-Fi, so that is Wi-Fi 6E, and also incorporates Bluetooth 5.3. And last of all, we've got the three audio connectors, which is showing its age a little bit these days, but I guess they're at least color-coded. So if you're plugging in your microphone, at least you know which one it's going into. It's going into the pink, rather than on some MSI boards, but they just have them all color-coded black and one red one in the middle, which actually is the output, not an input, which is a little bit confusing. So actually going old school on those is actually quite helpful for some people. So there you go, there is a quick look and overview of the X670E Gaming Plus Wi-Fi from MSI. This hopefully is going to be a great little upgrade for the PC in the background for streaming. Again, I picked it up for a very, very good price, under £150 here in the UK, and it does appear to be basically as new. I've checked all the pins, they're all absolutely fine. I've already done a BIOS flashback on it, so it's basically now ready for me to stick it in the PC, and hopefully, this is Friday, we're streaming tomorrow, so all being well, when we do our stream tomorrow, this will be the motherboard which is actually in that PC. But again, like most things, time will tell, we'll see how that goes. But overall, I think if you can pick this up for the right price, very good opportunity these days, especially, like I said, with the new 800 series chipsets being out on the market now. A lot of people are upgrading, selling off their older boards a little bit cheaper. Just do look out for the pins on the LGA there, just to make sure they're all nice and straight and not been damaged. But otherwise, you can pick yourself up some pretty nice bargains. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.